Full Bloom is brought to you in part by the following. Welcome to Full Bloom, the award-winning show that celebrates life. Here's your host, Zita Christian.
Hi everybody, welcome to Full Bloom. I'm Zita Christian. My daughter, Laurie Neronha, is back with us tonight as our guest. She is an esthetician and has been in practice for over 15 years. She's the owner of Viriditas Beautiful Skin Therapies in Providence, Rhode Island. And Rhode Island Magazine named her best holistic skin care in Rhode Island. We're talking about skin tonight. Laurie, thanks for being back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And for bringing my grandson so he can spend some time with us too. So I want to talk specifically about facials and sun. Those are the two big things tonight, and some other things I hope we have a chance to get to. But I know from being your mom that if you had gone into another profession, I don't know that I would have ever had a facial. I didn't have a facial till I was in my early 50s. And I think that there are probably a lot of you out there who have never had a facial. So tell me, what goes into a facial? And I don't mean a fluff and buff. I mean a really good facial.
Well, you're not alone. I actually never had a facial until I was in school. Mm-hmm. And something about it, I knew it was something I needed to do. But yes, so there are differences in facials. There are sometimes what we call therapeutic facials, or what I refer to as a fluff and buff. That's not to be disrespectful, but it's more of a facial that's designed for relaxation and for stress reduction, which is wonderful and very, very vital.
And valuable.
Very valuable. I mean, you can't say enough about the value of stress reduction in our society. That's huge. However, many of us do not have just a lot of disposable income to spend on just relaxation. We also want relaxation with benefits. Mm-hmm. So that's what I provide. I provide what's more of a therapeutic, a corrective type facial. So when someone comes in for the first time, I spend time first of all assessing their skin, talking to them about their needs and desires for their skin. What I see with someone's skin is not necessarily what they see. As a practitioner with 15 years experience, I look at someone's skin and I immediately see things like sun damage, lymphatic stasis. I might see hyperpigmentation or hypopigmentation, which is discoloration or lack of coloration. I might see signs of old injury, scarring. There can be a whole slew of things that show up on the face. It can also give an idea of what may be going on internally in the body as well to a skilled eye. So in a good facial, we're going to address all of those things, or at least touch on them and provide a program or design a home care program to really directly address those issues.
All right. I think one of the best ways to do this, because fortunately, you know, Dick and I came to Viriditas, and took some film. You're going to see lots of film tonight. And we have a clip of Laurie working on a volunteer, moi, to assess the skin. That was quite an experience. I mean, obviously Laurie's done that before, but doing it knowing there's a camera rolling is a whole nother thing. So we are going to show you a clip now that's all about what happens in assessing the skin and a few other things. So let's take a look at that one.
That you want to look at when you're examining the skin is the color, the overall color and the overall texture. So just in general, people have a tendency to think, oh, my skin looks great, or, you know, I look really bad for my age, or do I look really good for my age? So I see so many people every day. It's easy for me to make a judgment on, you know, what's average and what's not average. When I'm looking at the skin, there's a couple things. This is how the skin moves like this, how it might turn pink. There's different color variations, like these little areas here. This is hyperpigmentation, and a little bit of redness inside the nasal area and on the cheek. Most people have that. People also have a tendency, if you can see the difference here on the chest or décolleté, from here out, people are usually covered most of the year, at least here in the Northeast. But in the summertime, we're usually wearing clothing that's going to expose the neckline and the neck. So you can see there's a very obvious change in coloration. The other way, if you can't see a change in coloration, the other way you can tell is by touching it. So by literally dragging your finger very lightly across the surface of the skin, you can feel a texture change, and it'll give you an idea of just how much sun damage there is. That is definitely one of the issues that people are not aware of. And if you're wondering for yourself if you have any sun damage, just very lightly run your fingers across your chest and you'll be able to tell for yourself. Some of the other things that we're looking for that are not quite so obvious are things like little blemishing or if there's clogged pores, but also, and this is a big one, is whether or not there's lymphatic stasis. And the lymphatic fluid is through your whole body, and it's basically the part of your body that removes metabolic waste from the tissue. And as you get older, or if you're sedentary, or if there's illness or some kind of medication, the lymphatic fluid becomes static and it doesn't flow as well. It actually doesn't have a heart like the heart moves the circulation, moves the blood. There's no pump for the lymph. The lymph moves from your movement. So on Zita, you can see there's a little bit of puffiness in the eye area. Now some of that's just age, but some of that is lymph. Particularly right in the corners here, it's a little bit puffy. Also, as many women get, there'll be a little bit of lymphatic swelling, a little bit of puffiness around the neck. So one of the things that I always try to do, and a good esthetician will do if she's trained as well, and I definitely encourage all you estheticians to get this training, is to get some information and a little bit more knowledge on lymphatic drainage or lymphatic massage. The Vader School is an excellent resource. Under the bright light, this is a high magnification. Under the bright light, I can see quite a bit more. There's definitely little areas of pigmentation. That's just an indication of sun damage and sun over the years. Even though Zita's been really, really careful about wearing her sunscreen and keeping out of the sun, you still need some sun, and the skin can perceive damage from all different things. There can be from sun trauma, there can be from injury, just getting bumped, getting a cut, getting a scratch, all those things. So when I'm assessing the skin, you really need to look and say, all right, well, how am I going to address this, and what's going to be the best way to address these challenges? And also, what are your concerns? So I'd like to remove product with warm towels and adjust your body temperature to heat by starting on the chest. These areas right underneath the shoulder and underneath the arm are loaded with lymphatic glands. So these gentle compressions help to start moving that lymph, again helping to reduce the puffiness in the eyes. Even though people think, oh, it just feels really good, but it's actually very active. We're actually actively engaging the body's natural processes of clearing. And same thing on the face, as we're softening and removing some of the product. I like to hit some of the acupressure points. And these points correspond to meridians on your whole body. So you're not only affecting the face, along with the sinuses and so forth, but you're also affecting the rest of your physiology.
Well, I have to tell you, Laurie, I'm watching that, and the first thing I'm thinking is, yikes! Okay, I feel I feel the damage, and then I'm watching that and I'm thinking, okay, great. I need to get out there and move so that I move my lymphs and get that lymph moving. And there's just so many things, and I consider myself careful.
You're very careful, but there are so many things that affect us. Our skin is literally a reflection of our internal wellness and our internal health. So everything that is oxidizing and changing and inflaming, if you will, inside is going to show up on your skin. By the same token, it's also going to reflect everything that's happening to us from the outside as well. So everything shows up on this. It's a map. You can literally see what's going on in someone's body by looking at their skin.
So do you ever have a situation where somebody comes in and you're looking at their skin and there's something you want to tell them? I mean, you're seeing something on there and you want to tell, and I don't mean like something like skin cancer. Obviously you would, and I know
see
you
that
do.
A lot. I see that
you
a
say
lot.
that. We're going to talk about that too, but other things like, gee, you shouldn't be, or I can tell you're smoking, drinking, picking, that kind of thing. Do you talk to people about that?
I do. Sometimes they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth. People don't always want to hear the truth. But yeah, those are big issues, especially when I'm dealing with a more chronic condition, like for example, acne. Things like diet will absolutely affect acne. It's not a straight path from, you eat something and it makes you break out. It's more a matter of you eat something, it affects your body, it creates inflammation, it aggravates the acne. So yeah, when I look at someone, classic case, I had a client the other day. She's been on my acne protocol for a while and she suddenly had a big flare up and her skin it was red and inflamed and pustular, which was very unusual for her. But I could see the little marks from her fingernails, and I could see that she had obviously been under a lot of stress, because when she picks because she's under stress. So it's immediate. I can already tell if she's had a flare-up. There's inflammation in the skin. That's a result of a higher cortisol and higher testosterone levels, which is your body's response to stress, which in the skin creates inflammation. And then she picks because that's her disorder. We all handle stress differently. A lot of people who come to see me pick. So I can see it. She just walked in the door and I was like, oh boy. Yeah. So you've had a rough couple of weeks, huh? She's like, oh, you have no idea. So yeah, that's part of what I do. But to be able to see that, you have to be able to recognize it, and it's there. It's just there to be seen.
I think it's like so many things that you have to know. You have to know what you're seeing.
Yes.
I do want to talk a little bit about the whole thing about sun. I mean, looking at that clip and when you're putting, and here's some sun damage and here's some hyperpigmentation. I'm going, no, I don't go in the sun. I always use sunscreen. I mean, ever since I was a kid, a young teenager, wearing makeup, which would at least, I know, give some kind of protection. And yet I have some of that sun damage. So I want to talk a little bit about sun damage, because things I've been reading lately, there's a lot of controversy about sun. On one hand, I see that news clip about the woman from New Jersey who had tanned to such an extreme, she looked like leather. And yet I hear the other stories that say you have to get some sun. We need the benefits. So talk to me about the controversy.
Well, first, I can say, as Americans, and I'm generalizing here, but for a lot of us, if a little is good, more is better. Yeah. We don't really practice moderation very well. So, yes, you absolutely do need the sun. Sun keeps us alive. It maintains our health. It maintains our immune system. It actually, our skin, as many of you know, our skin produces vitamin D in response to ultraviolet radiation. One of the other things that it also produces is cholesterol sulfate. And cholesterol sulfate is vital to brain health, along with saturated fat. There's a lot of things that affect our skin that we're being misled. Okay. So low levels of cholesterol sulfate have been associated with Alzheimer's disease. So one more reason that you really do need to get sufficient sunlight. The question is, what is sufficient sunlight? And a lot of that depends on your skin tone and your actual, what's called a Fitzpatrick type. So how fair your skin is. The fairer your skin, yours and my skin, for example, we would be considered a Fitzpatrick 2. Basically, that means that we'll always burn first, and then we might tan. A Fitzpatrick 1 will never tan. They'll just burn and freckle. Often, people think of that as like Irish skin. No offense to the Irish. I'm Irish.
We're Irish.
We're Irish. But that kind of very, very fair skin, it just freckles. It doesn't get anything else. So that's a Fitzpatrick 1. And then it goes all the way up to a Fitzpatrick 5, which would be someone who has like very, very dark, almost black skin. So depending on your skin, depends on how much sun you need. So if you don't have a darker skin tone, it's more important to wear sun protection. And you want to wear a physical sunblock. Protect your skin as much as possible. I usually recommend about 10 to 15 minutes a day, max, for healthy sun. But after that, you need to protect your skin.
Well, there's a little statistic I wanted to share with you, which I'm sure you already know, but I didn't. And I went to the website, the Skincare Foundation, and they were talking about a recent study that showed that children of women who tan indoors, so we're talking about those booths, who tan indoors are more likely to be indoor tanners themselves. So, of course, that doesn't surprise me. Kids always do what their parents do. That's just the whole part of it. But the study found that young women whose first indoor ultraviolet tanning experience is with their mothers are more than 4.6 times more likely to become heavy tanners, and that those indoor tanners are 74% more likely to develop melanoma than those who never tan.
Yes.
74%.
In fact, indoor
That's criminal.
Indoor tanning is so dangerous that it is now official. The World Health Organization has declared indoor tanning a carcinogen to humans.
Oh my gosh.
And then there are people walking around going, well, you should do safe indoor tanning. I'm sorry, but I see enough skin on a day-to-day basis. I see enough cancer. I'm talking skin cancer enough times, and I can't diagnose it, but I've been looking at it for 15 years. I know what it looks like. And I know when something is suspicious enough that it's just not safe.
No.
Get some sun. Get 10, 15 minutes every day. After that, protect yourself. And don't think that just because you're wearing sunscreen and you've got your hat and you've got your sunglasses on, that you're not getting any sun. The skin responds with memory. If you've had a history of getting a lot of sun and you're all covered up and you're wearing sunscreen, your skin is still going to pigment because it's perceived an injury.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we have a lot of clips to show tonight, and I want to pull up another one here right now because I thought this is one of the things where we start getting into the concept of holistic skin, and that's a whole big concept altogether. But you did a little thing, and when you did the facial, when you do the facial, and I always feel it, but I had no idea exactly what you were doing. So you were talking about these little gates. So we're going to roll this little clip now, and it's just a little quickie, but let's take a look at that one.
Now, in Chinese medicine theory, you always want to open up the 3 gates first to the face. And some of those areas, those 3 areas include right between the forehead, right between the eyes on the forehead, this area in here, this whole region. The area right in front of the ear, right in here, which also happens to connect to the trigeminal nerve, which is a cranial nerve, and the back of the head at the base of the skull, or the occiput. So every treatment that I do, even if I'm not doing what I call a green technology or a Viriditas facial, I'm always hitting those points regardless, because they'll allow the skin and the whole body to receive more of the benefits from the work. It's not just about the skin.
Yeah, it's not just about the skin. And that's why, I know the tagline, that your tagline is always, where a facial is just the beginning. That is what it is. And I want to be sure that there's another clip that I want to be sure to show everybody. This was something I was absolutely fascinated by, gua sha, facial gua sha. Rather than asking you about it now, I want to see if we can roll that clip and then we can talk about it afterwards. So let's take a look at facial gua sha.
Now that Zita's skin has been cleaned and lightly exfoliated, we're going to do a technique to help move the energy. This will not only help to stimulate circulation, but it will directly help move the energy right in the meridians. We're going to be doing a technique that I learned from Dr. Pingza at Nefeli Botanicals in New York City. And this is called facial gua sha. So as I said before, we always open up the 3 gates first. This particular area is interesting. This particular area is also commonly referred to as the 3rd eye. And my dentist taught me that the rounder your face, the more likely you clench at night. And I'm guessing that you clench because I can feel the muscle here is very tight. That contributes to headaches, sleep issues, all kinds of issues. And just at the back of the skull, we tend to hold a lot of tension there. Feels good, doesn't it? It's great. So I'm going to be using a small piece of bone. Actually, this is a plastic, but in traditional use it would have been a piece of bone. It's just a little square with rounded edges. So I'm going to have you turn your head just a little bit. And we're going to start by just kind of opening up the energy. Can you turn just a little bit more? Thank you. Does it feel good? does. Good. So this particular movement just helps move the energy right across the meridians. I'm not pressing very hard because on the face we certainly don't want to bring up the gua, which is rash. And gua sha is it's kind of a controversial thing in modern medicine, but in traditional medicine, this is one of the primary ways of moving heat from the inner areas of the body to the exterior of the body. So in other words, you would quite literally bring up the rash, or it would look like bruising. And we always want to make sure that we stimulate the points behind the ear because, again, you're loaded with lymphatic glands here. This area right in front of the collarbone is a major kidney point. In fact, a lot of times if you press in there, you'll feel there's a little bit of tenderness. But again, we're just doing it. We want to help bring the energy up. And you can see her skin starting to turn a tiny bit pink. That's all we want, just very little bit, just light.
All right, so I know because I know what's going on here with the crew in the whole room. Okay, show me that point.
You want to feel your collarbone, and it's about an inch or so right below the collarbone. And in fact, if you you tap it hard.
Don't you have a microphone?
Sorry,
on, honey?
I won't tap it hard. But
right in there.
Tap it right in there. This is a really incredibly strong way to move the energy and to wake yourself up, particularly if you're feeling threatened or if you're feeling distressed in any way. That helps open up the energy and moves the energy to the head and the face.
So that idea, I mean, I've heard the idea before about there being points on the bottoms of the feet for reflexology,
yes.
Where the connections end, and then in the hands. And but you're saying that you can work with these energy lines, these meridians, all through the body. I found that part fascinating. We're going to go back to the gua sha here in just a second because Laurie had never done that on me before. And in addition to just moving in here, moving that gua, the rash, on the neck, then she starts working on my face. So we're going to take a look at that part of it too. I found it absolutely fascinating. So we'll take a look at the gua sha more on the face.
The energy and stimulated circulation all in the lower area, the neck and the décolleté. And we're going to work a little bit more on the face, and you'll notice that some of the common complaint areas are the nasolabial fold, or sometimes called the marionette lines, and also lines right around the mouth. She's got a tiny area here at the corner of the mouth. Now, we're just going to work in that area just a little bit. And the gua sha, again, the idea is that we're going to bring the energy to the surface of the skin. So any place that is depleted or challenged will manifest dark circles, dark spots, and lines. And your entire face has got lots and lots and lots of meridians. There's all kinds of energy points in there. You can always just stick your fingers on your face and feel around on your skull, and you can find lots and lots of them. Now, this isn't something that we do deeply. We're doing it very, very gently because I really don't want her skin to bruise. Traditional gua sha would do that. That's not the idea. The idea is to move the fluid and stimulate it. Or should I say, stimulate the removal. See, just that little tiny bit of pressure, you can see the red that came up immediately. Because she's got a lot of fluid stasis in this area. Most people do, and a lot of it, particularly when you wake up in the morning and people say, oh, my eyes are so puffy in the morning. I have that issue as well. One of the things you can do is just very gently stimulate these points all around the ocular area. If you just kind of stick your fingers in there gently, you can feel all along the bone, there's almost little divots in there. Those are all very, very powerful points for moving fluid. And here as well, there's a very large lymphatic gland, or a lymphatic vessel. So we're just trying to stimulate that a little bit and move the fluid out. Sometimes it takes a little while because we're talking about lymph. Lymph it's fluid, it's viscous. Depending on your wellness and how hydrated or dehydrated you are, the lymph can be very, very fluid and very runny, or it can be thick like jello. Studies have actually shown that standing on the earth, literally standing on the earth barefoot, and massage makes for more fluid lymph. Now you can already see how the fluid is starting to drain from this eye, just a little bit. But there's a big difference between the two eyes. Can you see that? And just with a little bit of manipulation. This is also really good for headaches. Sinus headaches in particular, migraines. But if you don't have the luxury of having someone else to be able to do gua sha around your eyes, when you wake up in the morning and you're puffy, I like to keep teaspoons in the refrigerator, and you can just put a cold teaspoon up against your eye, and then the cold will also help to reduce some of the puffy. Even with the absence of the gua sha tool, I can still address some of these acupressure points. These are also called marma points in Ayurvedic wellness. In Chinese medicine, they're acupressure or acupuncture points. And typically, people will feel this through their entire body, all the way down to their toes.
Yep, I sure do. I feel even my ankles.
Because again, the meridians run through your whole body, and all of them come to the face. They also all come to the ears. So I like to work the ears a little bit. This is a great stress reliever. If you're in traffic and you find yourself getting frustrated, pull and tug on your ears. And actually the act of pulling on your ear stretches the fascia in your skull and helps to relieve massive amounts of stress.
All right, so all those years ago when we watched Carol Burnett, well, you were too young, when I watched Carol Burnett and she would pull her ear, she really wasn't saying hello to her grandmother. She was stretching her brain fascia.
Yep.
Amazing. I feel like I'm a bag of jelly beans and I get squished and pushed around.
That's about it.
And so I'm going to tell you, when this show is over, well, maybe not tonight because it'll be dark, but tomorrow morning, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to take my shoes off, stand on the ground, put cold spoons on my eyes, and drink water to get that lymphatic stasis moving
Absolutely.
around. Oh my, this was wonderful. I feel like there are things I can do for myself. Honey, we only have about a minute left, and I just wanted to thank you for being on the show, for sharing all of this information, for providing the caution, the caution about sun, and for letting me be the guinea pig for the show, which
Anytime.
was and I'm taking you up on that again. That was wonderful. Let me also say a thank you to my FB crew and to you in the viewing audience. I say this every week, and I do mean it sincerely. I do know the value of time, and I appreciate that once again you chose to spend an evening with me. Thanks very much, and see you again next time.
Full Bloom is brought to you in part by the following: